Chapter 7: The Road to Revolution. The revolution was sparked by tightening commercial, military, and cultural bonds between colonies and the mother country ever since the first crude settlements were put in place a century and a half earlier. Two ideas took root in the minds of American colonists. Those were republicanism and those of the political Whigs. Republicanism required the stability of society and authority of government that thus depended on the virtue of citizenry, and therefore was opposed to hierarchical and authoritarian institutions. The radical Whigs warned colonies about corruption. Both the radical Whigs and Republicans predisposed American colonists to be on alert against any threat against their rights. Great distance weakened British rule over the colonies, which caused Britain to enclose the Americans tightly. British authorities embraced mercantilism that made the colonies supply raw materials and therefore also provided the Americans a guaranteed market for exports. The American colonists furnished products like tobacco, sugar, and ship masts. The Navigation Law of 1650 claimed that goods had to land in Britain so that they would get a share of the profits. However, the navigation laws were loosely enforced and fortunes were gathered through smuggling like that of John Hancock. The mercantile system burdened colonists with annoying liabilities that imposed dependency on Great Britain. From the 7 Years' War, Britain was greatly in debt, and King George began to strictly enforce the navigation laws, and he then secured in Parliament the Sugar Act of 1764 to raise tax revenues. After protests, the duties were lowered and agitation died down. But resentment kept burning when the Quartering Act of 1765 was passed and colonists had to provide food and quarters to the British troops. The Stamp Act was also imposed that applied taxes on stamped paper. Englishmen felt that their rights were getting jeopardized. Protests arose and many cried no taxation without representation. King George disregarded these claims, which led to revolutionary consequences.